God is not the one who is tempting you. God is not the one who's tempting you to do wrong. However, he allows it. He allows it, right? He allows us to be tempted. This is one of the problems of free will, right? In your notes, if you're taking them, God has given us free will, but with that comes the temptation to do wrong. Like there's a temptation that comes with that. We have free will, but now we get to choose whether I'm going to do the right thing or the wrong thing. See, God does not tempt us to do evil. In fact, people started questioning this in the Bible times. And so James, the brother of Jesus, he actually wrote this in his letter in James chapter 1, verse 13. He says, and remember when you're being tempted. Now, wait, hold on. What does it say? And remember when. When, not if. It doesn't say, remember if you're tempted. No, he says, when. What does this imply to you? This implies it's going to happen. You are going to be tempted at some point in time. So remember this. Remember, when you are being tempted, don't say, God is tempting me. Because God is never tempted to do wrong, and he never tempts anyone else. So then, where does temptation come? If temptation doesn't come from God, temptation must come from the devil, right? Is the temptation come to the devil? Some of you are like, I don't know, is this a trick question? Well, it is a trick question because often we get this idea of temptation, right? Of like the angel on one shoulder and the little devil on the other shoulder, right? And it's like the temptation, the good versus evil. And it's pretty sad that many of us, come up with our theology based on comic strips, but that's kind of the idea that we get. Like God is trying to get us to do something good and the devil's over here trying to get us to do something bad. Guess who brings the temptation into our life? Verse 14, temptation comes from, whoa, hold on, what? Our own desires. Underline that. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. Your desires are what tempts you. Your desires. You see, our desires is what draws us from God. Verse 15, these desires then give birth to sinful actions, and if and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death, physical and eternal death. It's like, this is the progression of temptation. Temptation comes from our desires. We are enticed. You ever gotten enticed by something before? Enticed, drawn away? Sometimes I'm trying to study to get ready for church, and maybe I was like, I'm gonna research something. I'm gonna look something up on YouTube, right? And so I go on YouTube and I start like researching something, and then as I'm watching the video on the sidebar over there, it's got like all these other videos, right? And one of them's like, watch me play $1 million guitar. I'm like, wow, I wonder what a $1 million guitar sounds like. So I click on it. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then I see something else like, oh, watch me, play, Bach on the bass. And I'm like, wow, that sounds great. And I watch that. And then like 2 hours go by and I'm like, whoa, I just went down this rabbit. Anybody else going down the YouTube rabbit trail? Okay, a couple of you honest people out here. The rest of you are like, I'll never admit that in church. But here's the thing. Like I'm drawn away, enticed from doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And we're drawn away. It's our desire, right? And YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these things, they learn. This is their specialty, right? That's what an algorithm is learning what entices you so they can give you more of it. Right? So they want to learn, what do you like? What do you click on? What do you watch? Oh, I'm going to give you more of that. I'm going to give you more so I can keep you on the site more so that way we can sell more advertising so we can make more money. That's how the whole system works, okay? So here's what's going on. We are in this where we're being enticed. We're being drawn away by our desires, and uncontrolled temptation ultimately gives birth to sin. Remember the prayer he said, God, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And now lead me not into temptation, right? Saying, now I don't want to do that again. So where does temptation come from? Hold your finger out. We're going to point at somebody. Okay, it points right back at you, okay? This is where the temptation comes from. It comes from me. It comes from you. It comes from my heart. It comes from my desires. This is where it is. See, in your notes, it's impossible to be tempted by something that you don't crave. You can't be tempted by something that you don't crave. For example, could I tempt you with some rat poison, right? It's like, would you like to have a little sample of some rat poison? Like, I'm sure it would taste delicious. It's like, no, that's not even a temptation. How about a nice cold glass of bleach? Like, would you like that? It's like, no, we don't want a cold glass of bleach. That's not a temptation to me. No, I'm good. I can resist that. So why can we resist that temptation and not some other temptations? Well, we can resist that because, we don't crave rat poison, right? Rats do crave whatever that smell is, and they tend to indulge, and that's why they sell this in the store, but we can resist it because we know that it's bad for us. We know that it'll end in death. So I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need that because I know that it's enticing me, but it'll end up damaging me. With sin, though, we crave it, and we don't realize how bad it is for us. It's like that rat smelling that rat poison while the smell's really good. But that rat doesn't know how bad it is for him. And see, we see the sin. We're tempted. We don't realize how bad it is for us. So we give in and we give in and we give in. And then once we find out that it's really bad for us, once we find out that it causes death and destruction, we're already hooked by then. And we're like, I'm not gonna worry about it. This is why it's so difficult to break free from addictions, right? It's like, maybe this will eventually kill me, but, this one cigarette, this one drink, this one hit, that one's not going to be the one that kills me. We have this lie in our head when we're indulging in sin. Well, it's really not that bad. And, I just crave it so much. See, we are only tempted by our cravings. We're tempted by the things that we crave. We're tempted by the things that we think about. But if you don't crave it, it's not gonna tempt you, right? If I was waving a carrot at somebody, like, are you tempted by the carrot? Like most of us are like, no, not really, because we don't crave it. But you bring out something else, some junk food, some chocolate, some cake, some ice cream. It's like, wow, that tempts me because it's what I crave. What I crave. If anybody's gone fishing before, we have any fishermen here? Any fishermen, fisherwomen, fisher children? Okay, a couple of you guys. You go fishing, and the whole point of going fishing is you want to find something that the fish like. Like I got some worms here, but really what I like to do, I like to fly fish, and I don't fly fish with that stuff. And I have this box. I got some flies in here. Some of these I've tied myself. And when you go out fly fishing, you go to the river. And often you'll check the temperature of the river. You'll see what kind of aquatic insects are on the surface of the water, if there are any. You'll flip over some rocks and see what kind of, nymphs and grubs and things like that are underneath the rocks. And then you kind of watch the water to kind of see if anything is biting. And then what you try to do is you try to match what the fish are eating. So, okay, I got this thing. You know what? It's all tangled up here now. Okay, I got this. This looks pretty good. I think it's going to be enticing. So you tie it to your line. You cast it out there. You let it float by. And then the fish, they see it. They see it. They're like, oh, wow, what's that? That looks pretty interesting. That looks like a little something tasty to eat right now. They see it. Oh, I'm just going to go take a little look at it. I'm just going to smell it. I don't know if they smell like that. They smell differently, I think, but they're underwater, so I guess it probably wouldn't be exactly like that. They're smelling, I'm just going to touch it. I'm just going to bump it a little bit. That's not going to hurt anything, right? I mean, it looks so good. Just a little taste. See, it's not that bad. Gulp. And then whoever's fishing sets the hook, reels it in, and now they've got dinner, right? Because they learned what tempted the fish. It's a lure. I've learned how to entice that fish to come. And ultimately, to catch it and for many times to take this animal, this fish, and now you're going to eat it or whatever it is that you're going to do. But here's what what temptation is like to us. It's something that we crave, something that we desire. It says in Mark 7:15, it's not what goes into your body that defiles you. You're defiled by what comes from your heart. So that means that the sin is coming from my heart. right? Like my heart is not pure. My heart is not good. The sins that I commit in my life, it comes out of my heart. So many people blame the devil for everything. You ever do something like that? Or hear somebody do that? Well, the devil made me do it, right? Well, the devil did. Well, the devil just did. He just had his way with me, and I just couldn't help it. I just gave in. The devil made me do it. We're blaming the devil for everything. Well, he made me do it. Stop blaming the devil and own your own choices for once. I craved it, then I chose it, I bit, and then I was hooked. See, in your notes, don't blame the devil for the bad choices that you made. See, we made the choices. We were tempted, we were enticed, we bit, and then we were caught. See, it's my desires, it's my cravings that end up tripping us up, getting us caught. The devil can't be everywhere at once. A lot of people don't realize that. See, God has the ability to be what we call in theology omnipresent, meaning that God is everywhere all the time. The devil does not have that ability. That means with all the billions of people on this earth, the devil is not specifically just coming after you each and every moment of every day. But if the truth be made known, I don't even think the devil has to tempt us very much. Because we do a good job on our own, don't we? It's like, I got my craving. You know what it's like? It's more like instead of fishing like this, the devil's using what we call in the South limb lines. Now, in the South, they have a different way of fishing. And we would go on a river bank or on the bank of a lake, and we would tie a fishing line to a branch and tie a hook to it and tie some bait and let it go under the water, and then we just go away. And we do, dozens of these up and down the riverbank. And then a few hours later, come back by and you pull up all those lines and you'll have 6, 7, 8 catfish on all those lines because they saw something that was enticed, but we didn't have to actively do anything. The bait was there and the catfish, they just wandered on. Oh, that looks good. That looks yummy. They don't realize that it'll be their last meal. And so the thing of it is with us, we do a good enough job on our own, falling into sin, falling into temptation. We're pretty good at this on our own. If you have an alcohol problem, why do you keep hanging out at the bar? If you got a problem with lust, why do you keep looking at those things online? If you have a problem with greed, why do you keep reading these articles and doing these things? If we have an issue with pride, why are we trying to get people to constantly notice us and pay attention to us? And why are we always talking about ourselves? See, we have these desires of sin, and yet we feed them on a regular basis. We deliberately, many of us, think about us, we deliberately put ourselves into situations to be tempted, and then we act surprised when we fall into sin. It's like I'm just going to go. I know maybe say if you have an alcohol problem, I'm just going to go there. I'm just going to hang out with the friends. I'm just going to have one little drink. I'm just going to do that. It's going to be fine. And you get there and you know that you can't say no. And you get there and one drink turns into 2 and turns into 3. Before you know it, you're just, dancing, on the bar or something like that, doing something insane because of the fact that we allowed ourselves to get put into a situation we knew that we couldn't handle. It's like this kid walking home from school, and he's walking home, he's soaking wet. His mom's like, "Why are you soaking wet?" He just kind of looks down like this dumb look on his face. Mom's like, "Did you go swimming in the river?" And boy says, "Well, yeah, I went swimming in the river." Mom says, "I told you specifically not to go swimming in the river when I am not with you." He said, "Well, I was just walking home from school, and it was just such a hot day, and the river just looks so nice, and it just looks so inviting. I just couldn't help but jumping in and swimming in the river." And the mom says, "But you have your bathing suit on." And he says, "Yeah, I brought my bathing suit with me to school just in case I was tempted on the way home." It's like, how many times do we do something like that? Well, just in case I'm tempted, I'm going to be ready for it, I'm going to put myself in the situation, and I'll be ready for it just in case. I thought I could get close to the water and not fall in. I thought I had it all under control. I just don't know what happened. I was just in the situation and things got away and I don't know. The devil just pushed me in. Well, he wouldn't have pushed you in if you weren't 2 inches away from the shore. It's like we put ourselves in these situations